Okay, so we're live on those platforms and we're getting ready to go live on TikTok. Hey, y'all out there. We are setting up. Okay. Okay, I'm live on TikTok. Just give us one moment while we're inviting people up. Inviting people up. Okay, that's somebody over there has their volume up.
Yeah, that was me.
Oh, don't do that. Okay, I got Ashley invited up. Asia. I don't see Rajani yet. I see Rajani join, but okay, invite. Okay. All right, that's everybody. Awesome. So I'm going to sit back and greetings, welcome. Ashley, whenever you're ready, I believe you have the intro tonight. I can't hear her. Can
Can
we
you hear
do a
me now?
test? I can hear you now. Can we do a test run for everybody? Asia, unmute yourself. Let me hear. Make sure we can hear you, please.
Hi.
Okay. And Rajani, could you unmute yourself so I can hear you, please?
Buddy.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Okay.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Pie Talks. In
Excuse me.
honor
I didn't
of,
get hit. I get to the game to get the thing that follows you around until after I left.
huh? Okay. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Pie Talks. In honor of Women's History Month, we are highlighting women of resilience, stories of strength, stories of healing, and leadership within our communities. Please remember to like, share, and comment wherever you're watching from.
Okay, now you're back up. Shut my
We never
TV off. See that.
we heard her. We never lost her.
Try again,
We
Ashley.
lost you for a second.
Shell, I think that's just
It's
yours because they heard me fine.
You guys, I didn't hear a word.
yeah, you're
So
cutting it out on
You're
StreamYard.
cutting in and out.
okay. So I'm sorry because I don't know where we're at because couldn't hear.
She
We
just did the
are
intro.
about to start our butterfly story segment.
Okay. That's Asia.
Yes.
Okay.
Hi. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
I can hear myself on TikTok.
My volume's down, so I don't know.
Mute your mic on TikTok.
Cool. The good thing is at the end of this month, we will be on a network, and we'll have background people and managers and things of that nature. So it won't be much more this, I don't think. But please bear with us as we're trying to, not trying, but we're streaming on different platforms as well. And now my best friend wants to call. We can't talk to you right now. Okay, Asia, you ready?
You're still not muted. Raj was asking, can you mute yourself on TikTok?
Who, me?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to do that.
You see the microphone button at the bottom of your screen on your phone?
Go ahead. Go ahead. I did mute. Didn't mute. Mm, what the heck? There's no option for me to mute, so I have to go here, and it says mute microphone, and it's on mute. Microphone muted. It's saying it's muted, so I don't know.
Okay. I'm just gonna mute myself on. Actually, I don't hear myself anymore. Okay. Yay. Okay. So when we celebrate Women's History Month, we often speak about women whose name appear in textbooks. We speak about activists, politicians, inventors, and pioneers. And those stories matter. But today I want to talk about a different kind of history. The kind that lives in family stories, the kind that echoes in music, the kind that lives in my blood. The Hampton Sisters were an African American jazz quartet formed in Indianapolis, Indiana during War World War II. Sorry. The group consisted of four sisters: Alitra Hampton, Carmelita Hampton, Virtue Hampton Whitted, and Dawn Hampton. They were musicians during the 1940s, a time when America was deeply segregated, a time when opportunities for Black artists were limited, and even more restrictive time for Black women in music. But they did not wait for permission. They performed, they harmonized, they toured, they built something lasting, and they did it together. To understand the significance of the Hampton sisters, we have to understand the era they were born into. The early 20th century was not kind to Black women with ambition. Jim Crow laws shaped daily life. Performance spaces were segregated. Travel was dangerous. Recognition was rare. Yet jazz was exploding across America. Jazz was freedom in sound. It was improvisation, resistance, innovation. And in Indianapolis, they were thriving. There was a thriving jazz scene that many people did not often talk about. My aunts were a part of that movement. While many male musicians were drafted during World War II, women stepped into performance spaces in new ways. But even then, the industry often viewed women as background vocalists or novelty acts. The Hampton sisters were not background. They were trained musicians, they arranged harmonies, they played instruments, they carried stage presence with precision and discipline. They were serious artists. And they were part of a larger musical family that included their brother, Lionel Hampton, one of the most influential jazz vibraphonists in history. But what I find most powerful is that even in a family filled with talent, these women stood on their own merit. They were not simply someone's sisters, they were artists. There is something deeply symbolic about four sisters harmonizing during wartime. While the world was in chaos, they created order and sound. While systems tried to silence Black voices, they amplified theirs. Harmony requires listening. Harmony requires discipline. Harmony requires humility. And sisterhood requires all three. I think about what it must have taken for them to tour as Black women in the 1940s, traveling long distance in segregated America, navigating spaces that did not always welcome them, performing with excellence even when recognition was unequal. That is resilience. And their story did not end in 1940s. Dawn Hampton especially experienced powerful artistic resurgence later in life. She became known in New York cabaret circles decades after the group's early years. That kind of reinvention speaks to something larger than talent. It speaks to endurance.
Yes.
Women's history is not only about breaking barriers once, it's about sustaining brilliance over time. When I reflect on their legacy, I do not only think about jazz clubs and stages. I think about what they represent. They represent Black women who refuse to be limited by their era. They represent creative excellence rooted in family. They represent the power of sisters building something together. And as their niece, I carry that with me. Legacy is not always about fame, it is about foundation. Because of women like them, I understand that creativity is not optional in my bloodline. It is inheritance. Expression is not something to shrink, it is something to cultivate. Voice is not something to hide, it is something to protect. Women's History Month reminds us that history is not distant, it is personal. It is in the names that we carry, it's in the stories that told, it is in the stories told at kitchen tables, it is in the music that shaped generations. The Hampton sisters lived through war, segregation, industry inequality, and cultural shifts, and yet their harmonies endured. There is something poetic about that. Four women, one family, one sound, decades of impact. They may not always have been the first name mentioned in mainstream jazz history, but they are woven into it, and they are woven into me. So when we celebrate women this month, I celebrate them. I celebrate Alitra's musicianship. I celebrate Carmelita's voice. I celebrate Virtue's presence. I celebrate Dawn's reinvention. And I celebrate the courage it took for them to stand on stage at a time when the world was not built for them. Their story reminds me that women's history is not just about surviving systems, it's about creating beauty anyway. It is about building harmony, and it is about understanding that sometimes the most powerful revolutions do not shout, they sing. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. Oh my goodness. Stories like these remind us why this work really matters. Seriously. Thank you.
Yes.
Make sure I can be heard from all avenues without echo. Okay, great. Make make sure everything is situated. So next, actually, I looked up. I'm definitely gonna be listening to some Hampton sisters tonight. Okay, I already pulled them up, saw the picture and all the things. So I'm excited for that. But next, we are going to. I mean, as we celebrate resilience, right? We would be absolutely remiss if we spoke about phenomenal woman without honoring the phenomenal woman who has walked beside us, who is the reason that we are here in Pi, that is the brains, the heart, the spirit behind Pi, and that is our very own, our founder, Miss Arike Michelle. And so we can celebrate her. Woo, woo, woo. Miss Arike, thank you so much. Actually, and I will allow Asia to answer, or excuse me, to ask the first questions.
All right, here we go.
And then make sure that when you answer that you unmute on TikTok too. So if you can, or maybe we can, but
Well,
just
can you hear me on TikTok?
No, because you're muted. Well,
Actually,
actually, because I'm unmuted. Okay, so I can leave I can leave mine unmuted. So okay.
so y'all can hear me on TikTok. Okay, so I'll leave that alone so we don't get the echo. Okay. All right, Asia girl. I don't
Okay,
know.
so my first question. So, Arike, many people meet you today as a leader, but what was happening in your life before 2009?
Circling. Okay, she just came back. Did she ask me? What did she ask me?
I'll ask it again. It's okay. It's okay. Okay. I was asking, many people meet you today as a leader, but what was happening in your life before 2009?
Oh, okay. All right. So hopefully I don't go out. Before 2009, I was living, I guess, what we would call success. I had finally rebuilt.
Uh-oh. Miss Enrique, pause for a sec. Okay, hello. We see you moving.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So we heard you
So,
say you were at the peak of what the world would call success, and then everything after that.
okay. I had stability. I was building, I got to my career. I was doing very well in my career field. I was making very good money. On paper, everything made sense. I was on my way. And but internally, something wasn't right. And it got to the point where I just could no longer ignore the fact that young women had always been in my life. Girls needing guidance, needing safety, needing direction. So before there was even a name, before there was even a me saying I'm mentoring, I don't know, I've just always been doing this work. And I guess I didn't realize it at the time, but I guess like the word says that your gift will make room for you, that my gift called me and it said it was time. If I was chosen to do this work and I began to feel this pull. It's nothing dramatic. It was just a steady, this love, this unexplainable love that I kept feeling and that my inner guide kept showing me and saying, pay attention. And when you begin to really listen inwardly, the spirit will begin to revert to you. And I realized that at that point that there was a difference between running after a career and running after my calling. And when the calling becomes so loud, louder than the comfort of the career, you have to decide who you're going to trust. And what made me leave stability was the clarity that I saw that I could remain comfortable doing what I was doing and just kind of living my life and riding around in my BMW and stopping under the bridge and talking to people and things of that nature. But, or I could really just decide, you know what, this is really my purpose, my reason for everything that I've been through in life. And I could really trust my faith. And thinking and knowing that I could possibly be used for something, and to know my background, to know all the hell that I've been through, to know that I could be used to help other young women avoid some of that hell. And so I saw young women aging out of foster care without emotional tools. I saw survivors, young women that were surviving all types of things, navigating trauma by themselves. And it reminded me so much of myself and all that I had to navigate by myself. But I also saw what I had hoped that somebody had seen in me, and that was the brilliance beyond what I could.
Uh-oh, we lost you again.
Okay, y'all are back. So, y'all are back.
We're still getting you back. Your audio is still a little choppy.
Okay.
Say something. Mic check 1 2.
All right, I see you moving on TikTok, Raj.
Okay, I see you. At least we see you now. You're back. Okay.
I'm sorry, y'all. I am in Jamaica and we do not have the stablest internet. Doing the best of this. It's on again.
But we did hear your
Okay.
answer, though. We did hear your answer.
So let me try to wrap it up. Leaving stability, to me, it wasn't reckless. To me, it was obedience. And I know to everybody else that was watching it, felt like it was reckless. And, but to me, it was the epitome of obedience. And I had to stop comparing myself to everybody else's path. And I had to understand, and still understanding, that consistency wins the race. Not speed, not visibility, not applause, but just steady commitment. And to stop looking out and asking what others are doing and how others are doing things, and start asking yourself, or asking myself, what needs healing, who needs healing, and how can I help? So, yeah, I will say this though. I didn't know the full weight. I didn't know the full weight of I didn't know the full weight. Y'all know my walk. It's a good thing. It's a good thing I didn't know the full weight, because I probably would have ran. I probably would have ran and be like, oh, get somebody else to do it. You know, in thinking too that, you know, I was just going to open a home, or I was just going to do workshops, you know, not knowing I was going to be given a complete ecosystem and it blows my mind. So anyways, that's that. Another
That's
next
great.
question.
Well, let's talk about your earlier community work. All right. What did you see happening with young women that others were missing?
Whew. Well, kind of like I said, I seen a lot of pain. I seen a lot of young women that were being pushed out into adulthood early because mom was somehow or another still broken. She didn't get that time, that correction, that somehow or another I got from being a broken woman. Spiritually, just really came up and swooped me up, because that's why I can understand the some of the mothers being broken, and being a single mother that didn't have it together and had children. So I can understand both sides, but just that the girls were drawn to me. Um, and I always try to get the mothers, I try to get the mothers too,
Right.
but for whatever reason, the girls, it did. But I seen a lot of intelligent young ladies out there hurting, that needed guidance, that just simply reminded me of me.
Right.
Um, and I also realized that so many systems address the behavior. So many systems want to address the behavior without understanding the nervous system, the trauma, the childhood things that have gone through, that have knocked somebody's nervous system to hell, and not, and especially a lot of places don't come from this lens, the lens of another Black woman that has actually walked the path and found her way out of every statistic that tried to come and stop her, from the drug addiction to the domestic abuse, to being the abuser and being incarcerated. I mean, you name it, every type of trauma you could think of. But somehow or another, by grace, it is this connection that I have that has allowed me to find my way out. And so I know that when I'm seeing and running into these young girls that have gone through all these programs that have millions of dollars backing them, programs, and yet I'm finding these babies on the street, something had to get done. And if not me, who? And if not, then when?
Right.
And so, you can't lecture a dysregulated, nervous system. I seen me and I knew what I needed. And if I could just create that, if I could just help, then that's what I needed to do. And that's when stillness actually kind of started to grow me, is this process in trying to hear and figure out how to put it all together, and walking alongside of y'all at the same time, figuring myself out as y'all are helping you, but I'm being developed with no mentor, but my spiritual guide. So I tell people, be careful of just, when you're in your time, your process of transition, and be careful what you watch, be careful who you're with. Um, Life and death is in the power of the tongue. Watch how you speak. Because that's nothing. I see a lot of young girls out there speaking death over themselves, not understanding, following the ways of society, the ways of the world, where it's just really a big act to keep us hurting, to keep us in dysfunction. And so knowing that I made it out, how could I actually go back and walk with them instead of just writing another book and throwing the book at them? So that's that.
Mhm. And what was that very first moment you realized healing happens simply by showing up?
Y'all. y'all, the twinkle in your eyes. I think I was sharing that with Raj the other day. Healing required me to step out of and away from the noise so that I could hear what to say when I would come across a young woman, so that I would know what story to tell her to catch her attention. And something in the eyes would literally shift, and I'd say, uh-huh, that was the right story, because they went from to what you just say, like it snaps, right? And so I realized that healing comes from true love. True love, the more that we give true love doesn't bring harm. True love brings stillness, it brings peace, it brings healing. And it's reciprocal. And so boomerang, when I realized that by helping y'all, it helped me to grow. And that's what true love will do. As you pour out, and true love pours back in. And that's where healing can actually begin. So the healing really started for me by giving you love, and giving you love, unconditional love, giving you true love that had no hidden agenda, that allowed you to be who you are, but just there to gently try to remind you of the greatness that was inside of you, gently trying to guide you and remind you, and to be an example that you can still make some mistakes, but really and truly have a love relationship with divinity, with your spiritual self, that will guide you through everything. And that's healing. In that, when I tapped into that love that didn't require anything back, that brought healing into my life. So when I say I love, I really truly mean it. Um, and again, I think that the longevity is the ability to be transparent with y'all, and to show you don't have to be perfect, but your character and your conduct, when you grow, when you work with it, that it absolutely brings healing. Okay. Next.
Awesome. And what lessons would you say that the community taught you?
Mm-mm. You want the truth, or you want the
Come on.
Give us the truth. No.
Give us this.
which
Come on.
version do you want? Do you want the healed version, or you want the version before?
Hey, whatever people can hear.
For a long time, our community is so broken that for a long time, I doubted even myself. Even though I knew I was hearing, and even though I knew that I was developing in things, as year after year, and things, though, I can only imagine how Noah felt, right? Out there, just, and people like going crazy, crazy. Noah's still out there year after year building, right? And so, and that's the funny thing about it is, I come from the church background as a pastor, and to know the word, it behooves me how so many people that say that they know the word looked and thought that there was something utterly wrong, simply because I gave up my career and gave up on me when things started to get hard, because, well, you gave up your money, well, you gave up your career, not seeing not seeing there was 20,000 children on the streets in California, all combined, northern and southern, 20,000 simply because they were aging out of foster care. AB 12 or 21, I can't remember what, hadn't come into play yet. That's that law that extended that you could stay up to 21, 22 if you were going to school or, had some type of a job or something like that. But prior to that, at 18, it was hit the door whether you had the qualifications or you didn't have the qualifications. And in the spirit, your footsteps are ordered. Because how did my first apartment in Sacramento, California, end up across the street from a transitional home? and how in the world? Out of all the places that I could have lived, and I mean that even on that street had like umpteen apartments on the street. And literally, I started at the opposite end in the very last one, 9190 Tuolumne Drive. It was directly across from the transitional home. And how I got to know the babies, I don't even remember. But as they gradually turned 18 and got apartments, some got put out. And I'd come home from work and there'd be a baby on my doorstep with the baby, talking about they put me out with no money, no anything. But the woman said, go to the lady on the last thing, because I had moved by that time, Ashley. This is the time I come back around to Tuolumne. And I was down the very end in that time, remember? Yes. And so they'd say, go, there's a lady down the street there. Knock on her door. That's how I got Lanisha. Every young woman that came out of there, Tiffany stayed with me, Ashley stayed with me, the one that used to go with Sheldon, I forget her name. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there was a gang of them. And so anyways, community, my community, by golly,
By golly.
I love us. I love us. And things are getting better. Yeah, I guess that's another thing. Don't expect it to come from where you think it's going to come from. And all of that, I believe, too, is a part of the needing to strip away and have me solely rely upon my spiritual ear. So community has not always been there the way you would think community would for what it is that I was doing. However, who was there is Divinity. And for every, my heart just kept getting better and bigger. And, doors start opening. And next thing you know, I'm, sitting with Sharita Herring, the grant writer of the stars. Next thing I'm with Desiree Dubois, the seven-figure the seven-figure woman coach, Linda Hollander, the wealthy bag lady, Scott Black, like all these people in all these high executive places were coming into my life. Now, mind you, I was paying too, because they all came in. No, three of them came after, but like the high expensive ones, before I left, I was very well trained in things, so I thought. But anyways, the community now is really there. We speak those things that are not as if they are, and they shall come to pass. All right, let's go on to the next one.
Yes, thank you.
Love our community.
And actually, that's a good segue, because when you said speaking that which is not, but it's like our community is shifting. There really is a shift and this transition that is happening in the world right now. So one that I look at, the change is happening and it's coming and it's here. Okay.
That's
But
right.
but I'd love to hear your stories. I mean, one Mr. Rike got stories for days and a half. um, her life is gonna be a multi-series movie, like docu trilogy, and not anyway. But Miss Arike, let's dive into your personal reflections. Okay, so was there fear in choosing purpose over security, or did you just walk out with with your head high, chest out, like I got this?
I'm sorry, you would sound like a robot. Do you see the AI commentary? A pastor shares his journey of healing and community support. Join the discussion. That is not what we are talking about, AI. And I am not a him.
That's comical. You said you didn't hear my question. Can you also hear on TikTok both?
I
Okay.
can hear it now.
Yeah, I can hear you on
Raj,
TikTok.
Okay.
you were a robot for the last minutes.
Okay. The question was there fear in choosing purpose over security, or did you walk out with the boss with your head high, your chest out, like I got this?
Listen, you want the truth?
Always.
When I
With the
hit
butt.
that button to say that's it, I'm sending that 2 weeks notice. I was cool. At the end of that first week, when they called me in and told me, guess what? We're just gonna let you go today. You don't need to come back next week because you ain't doing nothing. You ain't doing nothing but running your mouth and talking. So we're gonna pay you out and go on and get. And when I walked out the door, it was like I remember looking up, like, oh my God. Like I was ready for next week. Like, like when that door hit, that Kaiser door sound like remind me of like a police jail. Boom, boom. That security door, boy, I say, oh, what we gonna do now? That's exactly what I said, what we're gonna do now. But I will tell you instantly, I heard instructions. And I had just met this elder woman. She was in the auto place off of Florin Boulevard. The car lots is the auto place. And when I walked in, there was water and she took a dive. Long story short, I was like, listen, if you need me as a witness, da 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 da. So we exchanged information. And so I had her information, and my spirit said, I want you to call that woman because she's been wanting to meet up with me and tell her to see her right now. And so I'm like, okay. As I'm driving to the other side of Folsom, where she stayed over by Stockton with all this land, and I pulled up on her, and I was just in tears, like shaking and just in tears, like, Lord have mercy, And she just looked at me. She said, what's the matter? I said, I'm all right, but I'm all right. But, and she just grabbed me up and we got to praying. And by the time we were done, she prophesied so much over me that I was really straight. I was cool. Let me back up, because this is very significant. When I hit the week prior, when I hit the submit for my 2-week notice, you have to understand, I walked into Kaiser Permanente telling people this is going to be my last job. God is going to use me. Okay. And so every quarter, all 51 Kaisers gets together, go down to Oakland, and all the big words, all of us come together and we train. So every time I come to the door, they say, oh, you're still here? Broadnecks, you still here? We thought God was going to use you. And I said, don't you worry about it. God's going to use me. And that went on for 3 years. 3 years of them laughing and joking. So when I hit send, you have to understand that went through 51 Kaisers. She did it. She did it. She did it. That day, my phone was ringing off the hook. People asking me to pray for them. People coming by my desk crying, asking me to pray for them. People telling me they had not seen someone with such great faith. Because at that time in 2009, you have to remember we were going through a recession. People were losing their houses and their homes in California quick, fast, in a hurry. And I had job security. And so all that. And so now I cry, go see the woman. Now I'm excited and I walk into church. I did it. I did it. I'm getting ready to do my walk. They cursed me out. They cussed me and cursed me. Do you have money saved up? How you just gonna leave that job? You had a good paying job all you've been through? Nobody heard. Nobody heard that this little servant girl just gave her last mite, her last everything to walk with the Lord, to walk in her call. And I posed the question, if you have your divine calling, do you tell God, hold on a second, I got to check my bank account? Is that what's supposed to have been my answer when you know for a fact that it's your appointed time to start your walk? I knew it wasn't going to happen overnight. Did I know all of this was all that I have to go through? No. But was I forewarned? Yes. In a little church around this corner and on Tuolumne that I gave the lunches to, and said, hey, you pass the lunches out because they keep giving them to all the guys and the kids aren't eating. And we went in there and the first lady of pastor, I don't know who she was, sent her armor bearers. I was like, oh no, I can't go nowhere. They're always gonna snatch me up. And that woman snatched me up and she touched my hand. We flew up and flew down and she started shaking. Her armor bearers looking at me and I'm like, I didn't do anything. I did not do anything. And when she was done, I said, what did you see? And this is how I know. This was one of the first prophets that I really came across, because she told me, she said, it is not for me to tell you. She said, but what I will say, the call that is on your life, in the hell you will have to go through to get there. She said, I wouldn't wish it upon my worst enemy. You are going to go through tremendous, tremendous trials, but just hold on.
Mm.
I've had prophecy I shared with Rajani the other day. I've had so much prophecy along the way. I've had $20,000 fall into my lap at least 3 different times on this walk by allowing me to go into work and they cut up and I write a note and they think you are like an attorney and we don't have to go into court and that money is coming in my direction. 3 separate times since 2017, all in the amount of $20,000. I have been provided for. I have been kept. I can't explain to y'all the walk, but people, all they seen was she left her job. And so was it scary? There were points and times, but ultimately, no. And ultimately, I've never worried about money. I've always said money is not an issue, because I also knew the promise, if I stayed the course, what I was making there per year. And I tell people, I don't share this. I just started racially sharing this, that I'll make per month. And now when I look at the structure, the ecosystem of what we have and what he's allowed me to build, that's obtainable as soon as we get going. And it'll be more than that. So yeah, money was not, was never the driving force behind this. and I've been sustained. I've literally watched miracles happen over and over again on my behalf. So, yeah.
Quite the journey, Miss Enrique. Looking back now, would you make the same decision again? Knowing what
Yes,
you know?
absolutely. Absolutely, without hesitation. Quick, fast, and in a hurry.
Why?
Why? Because
Hmm.
I look back now, when I look back over my life, no, let me say, and I think things over, I can truly say that I've been blessed. I've got a testimony. That's why. Because I literally can chart. I literally can. I'm sitting here talking to y'all right now from Montego Bay, Jamaica. You understand? Like I don't live like everybody else lives. When I disconnected, and even though there was times I had to go back to work, I never went back to my full career. And when the things that I went back to, right, are like working in Reno and getting up on the 3:30 on the daily labor bus with everybody that can't get a regular job because they got convictions or whatever, and going from where I was to making $8 an hour to going from where I was to making $8 an hour and being humble. You understand me? At that $8, but also let them know, don't play with me. You ain't gonna disrespect me because I will walk out of here in a second. People will tell you, Shell will walk on a job and walk off a job like that. Why? Because I started working for me. That employer like thing, it just didn't click for me. So when I went into a place, and most of the time went in, there was somebody there that I needed to talk to. There was a young woman there that was in domestic violence, or a young woman there that would needed something, and I go into these places and take these little jobs. But I don't know how many jobs I worked and walked off of because I do it on my time, and you're not disturbing my peace. And pie was always the first thing. This was just supplemental. Oh, time to go back to work. Bank accounts getting low. Go in for a little bit. They do something. I let them know I'm not the one to fool with. $20,000. Okay, I'm cool now for another couple of months because I was renting rooms. I only paid $250 a month everywhere I was going, renting rooms. In the fact, and I could live anywhere. I had so many butterflies out there that I could just knock on a door and would have to pay no rent because I put so many young women up. And that's what people don't understand. I literally can go almost to any state, and there will be a butterfly in that state that if I need something, that they will open their door for me because of the walk that I have had. And so, yeah, I would do it all over again. There's only one thing that I would change, and that was being disobedient and going back to that house where I got shot. It's the only thing I would change. I would be obedient.
Well, thank you for sharing. So as we wrap up, Miss Asia, you want to take us out or ask the last question?
Yeah, so I forgot. Okay, that's fine. So what would you say to the women watching tonight who feels called to serve, but fear keeps convincing her she's not ready?
Uh, sit, sit, breathe, wait. You'll know when it's time. I can't tell you exactly what your path will be. I can't tell you what it will look like I do know how I found out, though, was because I unplugged from the Matrix. I literally just got a TV in 2023 since 2000, and I think before 2009, like 2007, I got rid of my TV set. Spirit said you don't have time to watch. These people already got their money. That's exactly what Spirit said. Get that thing out because it takes too much of your time. And I was just saying to Roz the other day, I said, it's so funny. I was wanting to watch Bridgerton. Forgot how much sex is in that movie. But anyways, I said, and I told Roz, I'm not going to watch it. I don't watch series because I don't have time to get engulfed into series. And my spirit said to me, girl, it's built. If you want to watch TV, girl, go watch TV. Girl, if you want to watch a series. It's built now. You in a different season. So, I just say, listen, surround yourself with people that are also striving to do better for themselves. Watch people's character. People will tell you who they are. Pay attention and love yourself enough to pay attention and know that there's greatness within inside of you. Know that we're not just here on this earth just to hold a job to pay bills. We're not on this earth just to watch everybody else's version of success. You understand? We are actually called. Everybody has a purpose. Everybody has a purpose. You were placed here with great design. You were placed here with so much talent and so much gift. And unfortunately, what the Matrix does, what the world does, is the world gives us everything that glitters, everything that people think the fantasy of what love is, the fantasy, because the American dream is really nothing but BS to keep you and keep your mind. And we pass this down to our children generation after generation, knowing they're not learning what they really need to learn in schools as African American children. All this debate, y'all notice how much debate is going on right now? As people are waking up, Hollywood is on fire. And now everybody's fighting with everybody. Families are getting involved. And they're tearing each other down. We don't have nothing better to do than to a 50 and TI and this and that. We don't have other things that we need to be doing than watching these people that were blessed to actually have the finances. In 50's comeback is him flying around with his Asian people and drinking his liquor and all this and showing all their money. And they're always showing all their money. But have we come back together to rebuild? No. Why? Because they are still within inside the matrix. Puppets on a string. And they are paid well to keep us entertained.
That's a fact.
Entertained. And so when you come out of the matrix, my dear beloved brothers and sisters, you even must come out of the spiritual matrix of disrespecting one another, disregarding one another. It is all part of the matrix. And they have us to believe, and I'm going to close with this, they have us to believe that we cannot work together unless we are all under the same spiritual understanding and guise. That is one of the biggest lies that we hold on to. And let me debunk this for you real quick. If you go to work and you work a 9 to 5 and you work alongside people that do not look like you, you do not know where they worship or whom they believe, but you are cordial, for 8 hours out the day to make your money. The corporations that you work for, you do not know the board members. You do not know who the CEO is most of the time, what they believe, and what's really going on in their houses. And now we see, because Babylon is fallen, those that have all the money have actually been involved in the trade of children. And so these are the companies that we have helped build their wealth, being caught up in the matrix. Meanwhile, telling your brother and your sister, I can't work alongside you because you don't believe as I believe. So it's not true, because we absolutely can work together for the greater good. And then everybody go to their respectful places when it's time.
Mhm.
And everybody be okay with that, because we do that every week as it is. You go to work, and then on Sunday you separate, or on Saturday you separate, and you go to where you get your strength, and then on Monday you're back in the community building again. So why can't we do it with other righteous people? Other people who also want to raise their sons and daughters righteously, with respect, take care of the elders, the motherless, the fatherless, the homeless, those that want to be righteous women and want to be righteous men. Wouldn't you rather live beside somebody else who you would know that nobody's coming to mess with your child, nobody's coming to take your child and put them on an island to do God knows what too? So it is time that we wake up. It is time that we wake up. It is time that we understand our individual spirituality, get quiet, hear what it is that we are supposed to be doing, so we can come together and restore a nation, not a tribe, but a nation that houses many different spiritual tribes, but all the same foundational characteristics of morality. So, all
Yeah.
right, y'all.
Well, Miss Sarika, before we hop off, thank you so much for all the gems. You know, we love you. I want to give a shout out to Mr. G Money. He's a new friend of mine. We met yesterday on live, and he hopped in, and he's had some words for you. He said that he said you're dropping some knowledge. He said that he likes you, that your soul is beautiful. He mentioned about the crabs in the bucket mindset, you know, in regards to, you know, us not being able to get along. He also said that he likes how you can see through all the BS, and that people need and through the BS need people like that around you. So,
Yes.
and she don't even know that I'm writing. And then one little, if I may share a little
I'm
bit.
blind.
And you were talking, so it's all good. No, he said he doesn't know that you're. Oh, well, okay. I thought you were talking about music. Were you talking about the chat or your music? Because if I may add this little bit about our, G Money and I's connection yesterday. He actually does music, and he was sharing with me how he had had the opportunity. I hope that's okay that I share this. Feel free, before I start talking. But just I can attest to who he is, in the little bit that I've met him, because he was saying how he actually didn't engage. Like, he had the opportunity to be in rooms and to, work with certain people and different things, but he didn't like the fakeness and, the things that he was starting to see. So he intentionally pulled back and was like, nah, I don't even want to be involved in that. He's like, so now he, does it for the love and, does some ghostwriting and things. But so it was cool to see him hop in and tune in and, comment and things. And so I wanted to share, his comments that he was making in the chat.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for recognizing him. So thank you, G Money. We do big up and respect our brothers on this platform. And so thank you for Rajani for bringing him to the table so that he could get recognition. We hitting it with the brothers now. That's twice now. The brothers be coming on and hanging with us through, and we're not mad at y'all. We are not mad at y'all. We again salute our brothers that are doing the right things, and we send mad love to you, and nothing but respect. So my heart is clear. If anybody else's heart is clear, we will have a part 2 to this. Next week, we'll talk a little bit more. I just want people to understand what this organization is and what it's about. And Saturday, is it Saturday? Saturday's
Yes,
my
let me announce. Saturday is our Miss Enrique's Earth Strong not second, look, I'm on the second, 58th time around the sun. So we're going to celebrate her all week and, give her the flowers that she needs. So actually we won't be on live again before her birthday or her Earth Strong. So this is her. We'll shout it again next week. But
we might have to do a special jump in. We might have to do a special jump in. We'll see. But anyways, y'all have a good night. We're a couple of minutes over. Please forgive us. But we've enjoyed you. I've enjoyed the butterflies as always. Y'all have done a wonderful, phenomenal job. And pretty soon, the end of March, I don't know how we're going to do it, but our spot is on Wednesday. So we are going on a national network, y'all. So we have been picked up and we're going on a national network. And so our taping is on Wednesday. I'm thinking we can just tape and then send this over, right? We'll see. I mean, it's audio right now. So I don't know. I guess when we get our little manager person, they'll explain everything.
Exactly. They'll figure it out.
Ashley's yawning. She's like, look it, get off.
Ashley tapped in. That's time to wrap it up. Bye, y'all.
Later. We love y'all because we'll keep talking. Love y'all.
Thanks for joining, everybody.
Asia brought her family in tonight. Everybody go check out the Hamilton sisters.
Hampton sisters. The Hampton
I thought it was
sisters.
Hampton. That's what I thought. Isn't that a tap dancing? Isn't that the Hampton brothers or something like that too? Who were they? The famous tap dancing brothers.
You got that one.
Bye, Shell. Bye, Shell. Bye, Shell.
Good night, y'all.
Bye. Miss Enrique, before we hop off, so you put in the notes, maybe we should stop streaming before.
Yeah, I already stopped streaming.
Everyone can see and
still
hear you.
live.
Yeah, I know. Okay, I'm gonna hop off.